Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Chris Brown. I'm 60 years old and I'm standing for the County Council. I'll tell you a bit about myself. As a baby, I contracted polio and this left me with permanent disabilities which have resulted in many operations and treatments that has given me a lifelong opportunity to see how the National Health Service operates and meets the myriad of needs we all have. They do that extremely well. I am happily married to Anne for over 30 years. We have 4 adult sons. Fred and Mez live in London, Alf in Bristol, and Eddie is in his final year of A-levels at Queen Elizabeth School. We've lived here for over 20 years, and I think many people in Colehill West and Wimborne will know of my interest in love and enthusiasm of the rich history and culture that is all around us. Let me tell you about myself. I'm immensely lucky to have won the lottery of life. I was born to 2 loving parents who had worked their way out of poverty and hardship. They passed on some very important principles of life, embedding in me the value of love, the importance of justice, the vitality of friendship, the beauty of honesty. In 1944, my mother served from D-Day beaches to the end of the Second War. She saw the horrors of Belsen, the destruction of Berlin, and the trauma of thousands. As a teenager, she took me to what was left of Belsen. She didn't have to say anything, but she taught me that day a great lesson. It is too easy for politics to end in hate, oppression, and finding scapegoats for a plethora of problems. I'm well versed on what is required of a county councillor, having worked for Devon, Berkshire and Dorset County Councils. My late father, Trevor Brown, served as a county councillor for 20 years, famously exposing nuclear safety lapses at AWRE Aldermaston in the 1980s. For at least 4 years, he was the only voice against a ruling Conservative Party. He stood his ground for his town. He worked hard and both publicly and confidentially for his constituents. And I saw firsthand how a councillor, even in opposition, can help individuals and their community get the best possible results and improve the quality of their lives. So here I am, Chris Brown, today declaring my intention to stand as your representative on Dorset County Council. If I was stood where you are, I would ask, why should anyone think I'm qualified for such a responsibility? Well, I've spent those last 40 years working in social care for the councils of Devon, Berkshire and Dorset, and I've worked in a number of social care charities delivering services to county councils, which has given me a keen insight on the many strengths and weaknesses of local authority cultures, working practice and administration procedures. I've seen enormously difficult situations where workers under extreme pressures have gone the extra mile. No, they've gone a marathon of miles to help, protect and care for the most vulnerable people in our society. They deserve our thanks and praises, yet I've seen them treated very badly by management structures, criticism and callous politicians. And I want to make sure the people I know who work their socks off, the teachers, librarians, domestic support workers, youth workers, are there any left? Social workers and all the staff are not rubbished. They need to know that they have people involved in county decisions that can put forward a more humane and realistic point of view. So then, I believe I have the experience, 40 years on front line of social care. I'm happy to oppose views of other people who are doing the bidding of central government. I will not support those causes. I am strong-willed and I'm not afeard to speak out or speak up. Many of you will know me as the Town Mayor's Sergeant and Crier, but I need to make it clear that I'm not standing in this election in that role. However, I do hope that over the years I've demonstrated by my immersion in the culture of Wimborne how much I love this place, this town and this county. I agree with the revered Robert Fripp, who famously said that Wimborne is the centre of the universe. So what does the County Council do? I feel strongly that the main areas of responsibility of the County Council are all under threat, as well as changes that will come from the proposed county reorganisation. And I'll give you just a few words upon these as I plan to defend these areas against the onslaught of the coming cuts that are over the horizon. I promise you I will make a difference in these areas. In education, we have the news just the other day that our popular and successful Queen Elizabeth School is under enormous pressure due to the lack of funding, which has not kept up with the increasing numbers in the school. This is a national government formula that has left Queen Elizabeth and our other schools in one of the 10 poorest funded areas in England. The latest news from the QE head of governors says that if the funding carries on as proposed, they are questioning the sustainability of the school. I'll say that again. They are questioning the sustainability of the school. And I'm afraid to say that I've not heard the Liberal Democrats or Conservatives speaking up about this at all. Both nationally and locally, they keep very quiet, and I wonder why. My 4 children went through the Wimborne schools from kindergarten to Queen Elizabeth sixth form. And as a parent, I'm fully behind these wonderful establishments, getting the funding their children deserve. I will make a stand on this, and I will shout very loudly that the children of Colehill and Wimborne deserve a lot better than this. Another area of responsibility is clearly the Treasury and local finances. We know that the council tax rises are inevitable and that Dorset will be receiving significantly less money from central government, falling to zero in just a few years. I would question then that the Conservatives have found it a priority to spend £1.5 million of your money on refurbishing County Hall now while proposing a rise in the council tax. Does this make sense when there's also a proposal to create a new super county authority? And also next week, the Tory government budget will be asking for a further £6 billion in cuts nationally. This will affect us all and affect us deeply. Another area the council is responsible for is planning. Cohesive and strategic planning is a challenge, and it's one that concerns us deeply in Colehill and Wimborne. We know more housing is desperately needed, but the services to meet the needs of the new houses are still unclear. What we need so desperately is a major increase in social housing, not affordable housing, social housing. And no one other than the Labour Party is talking about it. Fire and public safety. I doubt if the police and fire service have any more room for further efficiency savings, but I'm quite sure they will be expected to take further cuts, which will impact upon the safety of us all. If elected, I intend to urge that our services are capable and correctly resourced to protect all of the residents of Colehill West and Wimborne Minster. And today, we learned that the government have reduced the resources in the police by 22% over the last few years, leaving them unable to complete many investigations. It is not right to leave domestic violence investigations sat on a table, and this situation will only get worse. In social care, the wonderful workers of our esteemed Streets Meadow Care Home, a place where many of us would like to end our days, is a good example of how Dorset County Council has taken advantage of the committed workers' goodwill. Streets Meadow has been hived off into a local authority trading company, who are now trying to force these committed people onto new contracts with lower pay and worse conditions. The majority of these care staff are on low, if not minimum wages, and they are being turned over by their employer. If elected, I promise to stand up for these caring people, but this also shows that our current councillors do not value these workers and have made some, frankly, very poor decisions that will directly affect the most vulnerable and some of our hardest working and poorest paid residents of Wimborne. The elderly care crisis we are now seeing is, I fear, just the beginning. The libraries. We've also already seen that Colehill Library has lost its funding. Which ones will be next? As the government moves more responsibilities to the County Council to deliver, they're also reducing the amount of financial support they are giving them. The aim is to reach zero before very long. The inevitable cause will be that local taxation and rates will skyrocket to pay for them, or they will go completely and forever. In waste management, it's a particularly serious area where, if mismanaged or underfunded, it will have an effect upon all our health. We've seen a growth in fly tipping in the area, and with the forthcoming cuts, I have no doubt this service will come under further pressure, which I assure you I will do my utmost best to oppose. Trading standards is another area that is likely to be on the front line of cuts. The invaluable work of trading standards ultimately protects us all from dangerous goods and rip-off practices. As we leave the European community, the role of this department will become even more crucial in terms of protecting the public. I will strive to keep their resources and skills and expertise together. So, ladies and gentlemen, my reasons for standing. The cuts to our services that we're now facing and that are about to come are the biggest that any of us would have ever seen. Things we all enjoy and expect to be there for us will be going. One more page. Get there. This is when an auto cue would be useful. I trust I have explained a little about the issues I feel powerfully about, and I'm horrified that with the forthcoming changes and further massive budget cuts coming our way, Dorset people will be left facing a much more expensive future where money is getting tighter, housing is ever more expensive, and our schools are questioning their viability. We are seeing privatisation by stealth. Social care, the changes to the NHS are the responsibility of all of us, and I want to make sure our hard-won services are protected. If elected, I promise to stand up for the wonderful people of Colehill West and Wimborne. I will stand up for all in our community, and in particular the most vulnerable, our hardest working and poorest paid residents of Wimborne. I urge you all to encourage your friends to vote, to ensure people are registered to vote, and if needs be, apply for a postal vote. In the 17th century, we saw our ancestors fight a bitter civil war to secure for us many of the liberties that have developed and we now enjoy. In 1834, we saw some of our neighbours at Tolpuddle make a stand. It is time again we make a stand, and I promise you that if elected, I will represent all of you. I will stand for Colehill West and Wimborne Minster, and I believe I will do what is best for us as a community and will be best for all of us in the county. A final word about what is coming. I worked for many years in child protection. Some of the latest proposals in Whitehall are that counties such as Dorset will be able to opt out of their statutory duties to protect children from abuse. With the cuts coming, I have little doubt that Dorset will be applying for such an exemption if it becomes law. We are only here for a short time. If you can leave the world a better place than when you found it, then you have achieved much. That is my inspiration and my motivation to stand for this election. I'm here to pledge my service to all the people of Colehill West and Wimborne Minster. Please, good folk of this fine town, join me in my campaign to elect a new and a loud voice representing all of you in County Hall. On May the 4th, vote Chris Brown.